All right, welcome back. If you are tuning in from the podcast, go ahead and check out our YouTube. We just started. If you want to see us live and see us have a conversation, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, I'm Ashley,
and I'm Christa,
and we're the Crohn's and Colitis Dietitians. If you're wondering where Danielle is, she is out for the month, but she's coming back in June, so not to worry. She didn't disappear forever.
She's coming back. Yay!
Yeah, it gives Christa a chance to shine because you've been back for a while. You were with us previously, and you had your baby, and now you're back, and it gives us a chance to have some conversations too. So I'm excited to get to do more YouTubes and podcasts with you.
Me too. It's really fun.
Yeah, so let's give them a little bit of background because you and I have actually known each other the longest out of everyone that's been working here. So back in 2020 was when I decided, I'm going to go all in on just focusing on Crohn's and colitis. And so I started my Instagram account and we found each other through Instagram. You're one of the first people I met that was another dietitian with IBD.
Yeah, and I remember I was still in full-on panic mode because I had just been diagnosed, and I was so
Wow.
There was just you know the feeling. There's lots of information and conflicting ideas, and even being a dietitian, I felt overwhelmed, and so I was like, I need to find somebody who knows what they're talking about, and I found you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we got connected.
I know it was wonderful. It was the perfect timing.
Yeah. So you and I met, and at the time it was just me in my practice, and we decided to do a Instagram live together. It's still on our Instagram if you want to go all the way back. It's one of the first lives I ever did, and it was with Christa, and we did a deep dive on iron, and it was so fun to really nerd out on it with you. And a couple months later, we started hiring, and so I hired Taryn and then you, and got to be a part of that big growth phase we had back in first couple years were really fast-paced, fast-growing. A lot was going on.
It was so fun because I think even then I thought that you guys were like this huge, massive business and everything, but I was part of that growth, and it was so fun to just watch the evolution of everything and grow alongside you, because I had felt that I was learning about my disease process and learning about nutrition strategies that could help, and then getting to do that with other people was such a gift, because it was really healing to me, because I was able to just feel like I was making a difference in a really meaningful way.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's such a unique feeling, I think, to both be living with IBD and dealing with what it means to be a patient, and then also this duality of being able to help other people with the same stuff. It can be hard at times, I think, depending on where your head's at with it, but it can also be very healing to be able to, you have a sense of community when you do that, when you work with other people with IBD. And I definitely feel like the feeling was mutual for me too. Everything that I was experiencing was also new and vulnerable because we experienced so much growth pretty fast. And I was learning what it meant to be on a team instead of just me. So there was I felt so lucky that you stuck around, or anybody stuck around during that time, because it just felt so chaotic. So it felt so chaotic.
I cannot imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. You're learning stuff so fast about how to navigate that kind of growth. I mean, I know there was one year, I talked to over 1,000 people on just inquiry calls in that year. And that's a lot of people to talk to. Not only that, but we grew as a team. There was about 7 of us at one point, 2 admins, 5 dietitians. It was a lot. It was a lot.
That is so much. And you're moving more toward a management role and like a CEO role versus, practicing every day like you had been.
Yeah, a
It's
lot
stressful.
fast. But yeah, it was so great to have you. We had such a special dynamic. We still do. We
Yeah.
still do. We scaled down to three of us now, three of us in an admin and, you know, some other like more independent contractors, but like so we've scaled down a little bit and we're not like pushing a lot of marketing because we're getting, you know, a lot more just naturally. Yeah, we still have that special dynamic that I think, you know, I always cherish just the ability
Yeah.
to one have camaraderie around like we all know what it's like. We all have IDD. We're not afraid to talk about stuff, but also as practitioners being able to grow together. And there really is so much power in being able to learn as a group and grow together.
Yeah, and that's something that has been just I've cherished it too, and I've said that a lot in our personal meetings, but I thought even as I reflect on all these years, I think that's such a testament just to who you are and how you've built the Crohn's and Colitis dietitians, but you have created a really safe collaborative space, and that's how we all thrive and grow. And I hear it even whenever I'm talking to clients that have, been on calls with you or, have been through the process, and we all say the same thing. So it's just a testament to just like the culture that you've built for the Crohn's and Colitis dietitians, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's fun. Thank you for saying that. That's really sweet. But yeah, I feel lucky that you're here and that you're
Me too.
back.
Me too. I know. It was so fun. I
Yeah,
got to take a good break when we had
yeah.
our fourth baby. So it was
Fourth
a lot,
baby.
and we had a cross country move, and so that gave me
That's
some good
amazing.
space to kind of rebound from all of that. And yeah, then I was like, "Can I please come back? I just miss it."
Yeah, which was like so welcome to me because Danielle and I had talked at the time and we were like, gosh, I miss Krista. I miss having her around. If she was here, she would know the specific targeted, you know, question. You know, because you have this intersection of, you know, you have so much expertise in the area of sport and IBD, which to my knowledge, there's not anybody else that I know of that has this intersection of expertise of being a sports dietitian and an IBD dietitian, and just having the depth of knowledge that you do around, you know, what happens when people get restricted when their diets and like what's going on in their gut. Plus, you know, you're a professor as well, so you're also an expert at like tackling these big topics and really making them easy to understand for everybody. You're just a teacher at heart, and I think that very much comes across, and it's so helpful to your patients, but then also helpful to us as a team because I think it really helps us level up too with making sure we're doing a good job of that in our ebooks and everything else we do.
Oh, I appreciate that. My long lineage of teacher family would be so proud.
Oh yeah. I mean for sure. And I can remember you had been curious about that intersection from when I
Mhm.
met you back in 2020. And what's cool is we kind of got to explore that together is we started like opening up the doors to talking about like athletes with IBD.
Yeah.
And when we did, those people started popping up out of nowhere. We didn't even
Mhm.
know that there are so many athletes that had IBD that were struggling with some of these core basic things and what a difference it can make for athletes in their performance, but also just how they're feeling and moving through life, just
Yeah.
getting the basic stuff down and streamlined and tuned in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was right at that point. I was pursuing the diploma in sports nutrition through the International Olympic Committee right at the end of 2020, coming into 2021. And so I was super interested. But then I also had this coupling diagnosis where I was like, okay, I have this dual interest here. So I kind of felt like I was naturally pursuing both. And then whenever we started working together, I was like, oh, this is a perfect coupling of those. And yeah, and then ever since I've just continued doing that, and even got to use a case study for my final paper with the IOC with someone with Crohn's, and she was an ultra endurance runner. And so I got to it felt like a really important deep dive to me because I was like, this is good stuff. And then just continuing to work in the intersection has been, again, really rewarding and fun and challenging, right? it's still very clinical. And I love putting on a detective hat and trying to figure out, okay, what's going on and how can we help?
Yeah, that definitely describes how you move through with your patients is helping them really identify, even when we talk to us, when we talk as a team too about all of our cases, that definitely describes how you move through with your patients of really identifying and really putting in the time to figure it out, contacting their doctors, working through some of the bigger picture issues to try to pinpoint it. Because a lot of our patients, I feel like, especially those in the 6 month, they've been through it all. They've already seen multiple providers. I'm thinking of a couple that's, gone out of state, seen the best in the
Yeah.
world, still don't have answers. And so it's really, I feel like, sacred territory for us because we know that, those people are trusting us with, we need to figure something out. We want to do our best to figure out something that can help move the needle for them. And
Yeah.
so you do such a great job of really turning over every rock and making sure that we can provide some sort of next step and figure it
Yeah.
out.
Appreciate that. I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like most of the time we as dietitians really fall into that like continuity of care type of role
Oh
because we
my
do have
gosh.
more
Yeah.
time with patients and us being a telehealth, network, we do have time. And a lot of times your doctors and GIs don't. And so we can come in and help put those pieces together and collaborate with the team and figure out, okay, we're all kind of saying the same things in different ways. So how can we work together?
Yeah. And I feel like the time is everything in it because the more time you have with someone, it's amazing what comes up because I've worked in a clinical setting before, and when you're limited to 30 minutes, you only get so much. There's only so many questions. There's really so far you can dig. You have to be
Yep.
fast talker. You don't even get a chance to build a lot of relationship.
Yep.
But when you have the luxury of having a little bit more time, one, you are able to build that relationship better with your patient, figure out what motivates them, what they're in it for. And then also, it gives you the chance to dig deeper. You can go beyond your normal questions around it and really get to know. You can spot the issues a little easier because you just have the
Hmm.
space to do that.
Yeah. And there's so many barriers in IBD. It's
Mhm.
important to have the time to like talk through those and kind of air those with in a collaborative way, kind of think through them together.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to what you said, so your training was at the International Olympic Committee. So for those of people that don't know, what is that specifically, and what did they do there? What did you learn there as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, an international kind of board, and they do a lot of the overseeing of the Olympics. So, in a lot of different disciplines. So, they're not just sports nutrition, and you kind of automatically think of supplements and things like that. And yes, they're taking a massive role in making sure that no one's doping and things like that, like at the Olympics. But they're also a governing body. They're making sure that all these different disciplines are covered. And then they offer training in sports nutrition, in sports like mental performance, sports pharmacy. I can't even remember. There's probably 7 or 8 different diploma areas of concentration. And right now, it's kind of considered the gold standard in sports nutrition. And so that's why I pursued it. And yeah, it was really rigorous as a 2 year program. And it actually counts as the first 2 years of your master's degree if you are to continue to pursue that. And then your hours count toward the boards for sports dietetics. So if you want to sit for those boards, you have to have 2,000 practice hours, and the diploma counts toward that. So that was another plus for me. But it was really rigorous, really research driven. So we went all the way from the basics of just carbohydrate, protein, fat, energy balance, energy metabolism, all of things like that, and then use that to then inform our practice for fueling sport. And so we looked at all the different types of sports, all the different environmental factor, disease process, things that would impact micronutrient statuses and things in our athletes. And along the way, you have like 4 assignments a year and a test every year, and then you have to pass the big final one to get your diploma.
Wow.
And we had a graduation in Switzerland that I didn't get to go to, but
Oh my
I
goodness.
graduated. So I know. Yeah, but it's neat, and you get to stay on an international practitioner chat. And so people all across the world have that diploma, and a lot of them are working, in the Olympics for their country, or in, collegiate or professional sports and things like that. So lots of different areas. I think I was only one of like 3 Americans in the program. And there were tons of MDs across the world. And just so it was really neat to hear different perspectives, on all the different topics we were talking about.
I love those types of environments where you can kind of like multidisciplinary
Yeah.
programs because you just learn so much in different perspectives, especially when you're talking all over the world.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat. There was an IBD dietitian from the UK, and I was like,
Oh,
"Hey, I just want to talk to you." And so we had a 30-minute
so cool.
conversation, just hearing about her patient population and just kind of the overlap and the similarities between them.
Wow, that's really neat. So, can you think of any patients that come to mind that you've just really been interested to see before and after when you really dialed in the nutrition and in terms of speaking specifically to IBD athletes?
Yeah, yeah. Probably I think because I spent so much time with my case study person. She's the one that's just at top of mind right now. But it was really, really fascinating because we implemented a lot of things, and she had Crohn's, and she was pretty well managed through medication, and but still having a little bit of symptoms. And so we worked toward reducing those. And really what it came down to, and this is so common with our IBD athletes, is she was overtraining and underfueling. And that was really apparent when we looked at, okay, what exactly are you doing? And kind of put it up against her. I mean, she was doing ultras in the
Mm.
mountains, and so it's really easy to underfuel in those situations and just not understand what your needs are. And so we really worked and it really does become your identity when you are an athlete. And so the idea of rest is really, really challenging, but we reoriented things as like, if you're going to train this hard, then you have to treat rest as like a training, part of your training. And you have to go just as hard at rest as you do at training. And sometimes you have to do more rest than you do training, just based on what your body's telling us. And so I think that was really eye opening for her because she was starting to perform better when we did prioritize the rest. And so just letting her body, come back to a sense of baseline, and obviously increased carbohydrates, increased total calories, and then brought up her carbohydrates per hour and fluids and electrolytes. That's really important. And then for an ultra, you have to do some protein in there just because we're active for so long. And that was something that she wasn't doing. And so just helping her understand that these carbohydrates and the nutrition strategy, the carbs, the fluids, all of it is protective for the gut. And we have to do that, especially when we're in a disease state that affects our gut. And so anyway, by the end of it, she was performing so much better, so many less symptoms, especially while she was out there training and while she was competing. So not as much urgency and pain, and just, yeah, better tolerance overall. And we got her to, I just revisited my case study because I was like, what did we do? And we got her really high on her carbohydrates per hour. We almost hit the goal. And that's challenging to do with someone who doesn't have a GI disease. So it was really, really a good outcome and really productive.
Yeah, it's so transformative. And I definitely feel like for athletes, the rest part is hard. The rest part,
Yeah.
because you also get this endorphin boost from exercise, and so there's an actual depletion of it when you start resting more, and so that
Yeah.
it can be a little bit of a challenge to then do that as a part of the training. But
Yeah.
that's awesome that you did that.
Yeah. That stress, curve, that like Goldilocks principle with stress, is always hard for our athletes because it feels like more is better. And that's not always the case.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. So Christa is back and she's taking patients. And so she sees both IBD only and also IBD athletes. So if you fall into those categories and you're looking for some support, reach out and schedule a call. And we'd love to chat with you about which option might be best for you. So we now have 3 different options for working with us. So check it out, and we will talk to everyone soon. Take care.